Enhancing regional integration for sustainable development will be the order of the day at the 6th annual SADC Regional United Nations Public Administrations Network Workshop. The two-day workshop that kicks off in Kempton Park tomorrow will also focus on strengthening socio-economic and political integration within the continent. Now, to tell us a little bit more, we're joined in studio today by the Centre for Public Service Innovation CEO, Thuli Radebe. A very good morning to you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
The annual SADC Regional United Nations Public Administration Network. That's a mouthful. It's in its 7th year. Tell us about the importance of this workshop, and then what is your expectation that will happen from tomorrow?
Well, the United Nations, as you know, runs numerous programs, and I will zoom straight into the SADC Regional UNPAN, we call it UNPAN workshop, which starts tomorrow. They have a program, obviously, that focuses on public administration and the promotion of service excellence in public administrations around the world. And they have online regional centers around the world. We, the Center for Public Service Innovation, represent South Africa as one of the ORCs to make sure that there's coordination at a SADC level.
How are we doing within the Southern African development community in light of recent challenges we've had with our neighbours and within our own country?
I think we're doing very well. We don't get an opportunity such as this one. We don't get opportunities such as this one to talk more about the positive occurrences within the SADC region as such. But we're trying our best. We'll always have challenges. We just need to be able to dig deep, you know, into the problems that are challenging, that are facing us, so that we deal with the root causes rather than the cracks all the time.
It's about solidarity, isn't it, that these kinds of scenarios are all about. Just tell us about the participation at this workshop itself. How many countries and what do you expect them to contribute?
We're expecting, well, there's 14 SADC countries, and we're expecting about 12 to come and participate. We coordinate content for a web-based portal that's run by the United Nations. We coordinate content for the SADC region. Yeah. What we expect them to do is to come and share with us on the challenges that they have in terms of coordinating this content and sending it to us for uploading. And we want to understand how the network is contributing to the challenges they're facing in their countries as well.
Now, we always hear about horrific stories on the continent. Tell us about the innovative practices that you guys have come up with in the SADC region that we don't hear about and that does really good work.
I will give you one example, a mobile kitchen that has been developed that reaches the most remote rural areas in some of the African countries that have been developed, and people get warm meals during the day or whenever these kitchens can reach them. I will tell you about how people are working on roads, regrading of roads, and they struggle to get petrol, if you like, to those areas. Yeah. And they've come up with very innovative ways of, instead of having to go back home to refill, they just keep going and they can cover more ground during the day. And there's various examples in South Africa where an ordinary, for instance, because we focus on ICT and non-ICT innovations, yeah, where an ordinary permaculture garden has been used, for instance, to drive economic development in a rural area. And I can give you, where apps are used to improve, to reach citizens, where a clinic, for instance, has gone beyond just doing what a nurse is supposed to do, or a police officer has gone beyond his or her call of duty, and they've created houses to accommodate abused women. The story is long.
The region itself, how are we going to further tackle issues with the kind of networks that we're putting in place, and how are we going to connect the infrastructure development plans that we always hear about?
You know, we need to find synergies and linkages between all our programs. You have the United Nations driving this good program, saying you will share on best practices. You have the African Union that has come up with a charter for Africa to behave in particular ways, to implement certain programs. We need to find synergies between these programs. We need to find linkages so that people can have consolidated programs. Otherwise, it becomes all silos, a program by the UN, a program by the African Union. So we just need to understand people to come to terms and to practicalize all these good knowledge, that we have gained and generated over the years. But importantly, we need to generate our own knowledge. We need to consolidate and find our own ways of telling our stories. Otherwise, the world will want to tell our stories and we won't have the greatest of fun.
Innovation is now a buzzword, not just in Africa, but around the world, is that we have to find ways to innovate. We see lots of young people on the continent being at the forefront of this. Do you think that we have the capacity here within SADC, within this region, to really be a key innovator going forward in what we all would like to see as the African century? Yes,
we do. We do have the opportunity. We do what it takes. Fortunately, my organization, this organization, the Center for Public Service Innovation, has also been driving a continental program on innovation. And we've seen how the enthusiasm and the commitment that there is for people to find innovative ways. And interestingly, when people are really driven at the coalface, because we need to focus on people that are at the coalface of service delivery or economic development, when those people are driven and they are pushed up against the wall, they find creative ways of coming out of the dark holes. And we've seen great work. I'm coordinating that program, and I can, give you a few examples. Maybe not today.
I'm very fortunate. I work with innovation, and I see a lot of innovation happening, not just in Southern Africa, but throughout the continent. We are a resourceful bunch here on the African continent. But finally, your expectation of this two-day workshop that starts tomorrow in Kempton Park, what are the outcomes that you would like to see from this?
I would like to see these delegates, firstly, walking away, as I said, with a consolidated understanding of where we can make the greatest impact. I want them to understand that there is a relationship between all these big organizations, between the United Nations, the African Union, BRICS, you name them, that we all wanting to solve exactly the same solutions because they are all similar around the world. And I just want them to be better enthused and committed to driving innovation and to making it better for the citizens.
More connected and better communication, I would think, is what we're talking about.
Absolutely. That's why we want them to make sure that they send us as much information on their countries as possible so that the world can get to understand exactly what's happening in Africa.
Thank you for joining us. I share that view. I think it is the African century ahead of us. It's up to us to make it happen. Thank you for joining us. That is the Center for Public Service Innovation CEO Thuli Radebe joining us this morning to talk about, well, is it UNPAN?
UNPAN.
The UNPAN workshop that's taking place here in Kempton Park over the weekend.